Have you ever wanted to play a game like this? No? Well, what if I... How about now, huh? Not so bad. Blue Protocol is an action anime MMO originally developed by Bandai Namco and was shut down a bit over half a year ago. Blue Protocol Star Resonance this time around has been developed for a while by Shanghai Bokura Network Technology, a subsidiary of Tencent, and is being published by A+ Games, which is responsible for these games too. Not sure how much of the actual game's code and resources were made by Bokura themselves, but the assets at the very least are all definitely acquired from Bandai. Completely different studios and games this time around for the most part, so hopefully they were able to learn the shortcomings and issues of Blue Protocol originally and avoid it this time around. With a pretty long closed beta period, I wanted to get a good idea how fun the game is and if it's worth a good shot when it will be launching this October. First up is the character creation. There's a decent amount of customization here, which means yes, no gender lock classes, thank God. Now you can't get too goofy here unfortunately, so can't make a character that's like actually just a grape or something, but I think there's enough meat in here to have a bit of fun. As for the classes, at launch we will have 2 tank classes, the Heavy Guardian and Shield Knight, 2 support classes, the Verdant Oracle and Soul Musician, and then 4 DPS classes being the Marksman, Frost Mage, Wind Knight, and Stormblade. These classes also have 2 further skill tree specializations they can go down a couple days into the game that will slightly dictate how you'll play said class. A really great feature that will technically be a bit difficult to take advantage of is the ability to freely change classes. Unfortunately, you won't be mixing any skills together, but you can change classes at any time in-game once you've unlocked them. It will be difficult to effectively run multiple classes though, as a lot of your power will be dictated by gear, which will have stats more specifically tailored to a specific class. Moving on to the story, it's definitely an interesting shot at one, I'll say that. It's a pretty typical generic and uninspired anime story. You're an exceptional amnesiac adventurer that is saved and exploited by the game's mascot girl, Erona. With her help, you'll go and stop an evil organization trying to resurrect or unseal some evil witch or something like that. I won't lie, I lost interest pretty quickly, especially because of the dialogue. It does get a bit wordy, but I wouldn't say it's abysmally wordy. The real problem for me is it all lacked punch and really throws you off with some of the odd decisions. Some parts will have really short animated in-game cutscenes for particularly mundane things, and there is Japanese voice acting, sometimes. Most so far have been unvoiced, but periodically they'll randomly throw in voice acting with no real rhyme or reason. And some of the cutscenes will be mute and then just play some voice lines out of nowhere. It's really jarring, but again I don't think the story is even interesting enough to care all that much, so we'll see if it's all voiced or not come release. But the world all that garbage takes place in? Now that's another story. Especially as far as anime MMOs go, it looks really nice. It's got a large world to explore separated into different zones. In the first week you'll primarily only get to see the grasslands area, which is pretty damn big, the hub city, which is again also pretty damn big, and then the sewers, which are just some sewers. It does seem like they saved on some of their budget here, but it's still cool to see. But back to those big open grasslands, man, it's really cool to walk around, fight mobs, and run past other players. And as you progress in level, you'll unlock more and more mobility options. Like eventually you'll get a penta jump, and I didn't stutter, 5 damn jumps, and it's just as fun as it sounds. There are mounts as well to move around on, and one I unlocked recently that was really fun was the dash jump. It's this super simple minigame when you jump and hit the ground where you'll get a little meter that pops up, and if you jump at the right time you'll get a little speed boost, so it's just something fun to toy around with while you're trying to get from point A to point B. I only wish these things didn't drain stamina while you're out of combat in the more open zones, as it kind of breaks up the fun of moving around and then you have to just start walking to restore your stamina. I also think that visually the game looks really great, but definitely could look even better. I think that graphically it might have been tuned down just a smidge because the game will be available on mobile devices as well. And then with exploration, although it's fun to move around, there really isn't a lot to explore for. It's pretty much just chests randomly scattered around and that's about it. There's also auto traversal if that's a make or break for you. You just pick a point of interest and it'll teleport you as close as it can, then run in a safe path to the destination. This typically isn't the fastest way though if you want to run there yourself, as it won't jump over obstacles or take shortcuts to get you there. It's really just to get you somewhere while you grab a drink or look through menus. As for the gameplay itself, it's mostly revolved around its combat, but there's also life skilling with a stamina system. There are a bunch from cooking to picking flowers, but they all boil down to either going to pick something up or crafting something in a menu. Luckily, when it comes to the gathering portion though, you have focused and regular. Focused will eat your stamina and give you items you can sell in the player shop, while regular will just give you XP and non-tradable items. So if you really want to stock up for the rest of your life with no limitations, you can. You just can't sell them to other players. There's also fishing, but it isn't considered a life skill and it's not bad. Not great and a little unintuitive, but I've definitely seen worse fishing. As for other activities to do, there's a lot, but there also isn't a lot. For combat, we have dungeons with 5 people, the open zone mobs, which include regular, elite, and boss mobs, a tower you can clear floors of with other players, guild bosses on the weekend, World Boss Crusade, where you team up with 19 other players to take a boss down every week, and some other stuff as well, but I think that's most of it. The bosses so far have been fun the first time, or at least the first few times around, but they are pretty simple so far, so not much to learn or keep track of. I hope as we progress they'll get more interesting with the boss mechanics, but so far I think it's been pretty good. I want to highlight that one of the most fun parts for me in combat so far has been just the social aspect in the world bosses. One night we were fighting a boss about 20 levels ahead of us and everything one-shot everybody, so since there wasn't much to focus on, we all just made jokes and goofed around the whole time. It was really cool to see the social aspect that I feel a lot of games and MMOs don't really have anymore. It's all a rat race for progression and flaming the scrub that wiped on a mech they've never seen before by a guy that's full-time job is playing this game. I won't say Blue Protocol won't go that way, but it was just neat for me to see that aspect at least for a little bit. Anyway, I'll finally go over combat. In combat, your only real resource bar is your stamina and your class's identity gauge. For me, I played a Frost Mage where I would generate Frost Crystals to use for different skills and an Ice Energy meter which kind of worked like mana. The identity portion will change based on your class, but otherwise you'll have a dodge, a basic combo string, and a selection of skills. One is locked in and will be based on the specialization of your class. 3 you can swap for different ones you unlock, and then a locked-in ultimate that can also change with your spec. Last are 2 Battle Imagine skills. These are just attacks where you'll summon a phantom that will do its attack. These are interchangeable, farmable, and can be gotcha'd as well, which we'll get into later. You also have access to an item bar, which so far I've only seen its in-combat use for healing potions. When it comes to dodging, you can also perfect dodge right before an attack for some iframes. Also on certain enemy skills, if you dodge right as it would hit you, you will parry it to temporarily stun the enemy, which feels pretty sick when you pull it off. Overall, combat is pretty simple, and because there are so few skills to really customize and utilize, you won't need 10 fingers on one hand to play. This is also a negative for me, as I feel like it makes playing a class less unique, and they'll all pretty much be building and playing the same way. Last is that there is an auto combat feature, which immediately is going to be a deal breaker for some people. So what it will do for you is attack and use skills for you, and run a short distance around yourself to get close enough to the enemy. It won't be dodging for you or anything like that, and I really don't know how the skill logic works, as it doesn't even use one of my slotted skills. I've mostly just used it to fight some weak mobs or world bosses way over my level, as their damage was minuscule anyway. What isn't minuscule are all of the different systems of progression. Most basic is your player level. You can get experience elsewhere, but it's basically a facade. All of your XP will be coming from main quests, side quests, and your dailies from your seasonal pass. And the main story, like Crystal of Atlan, is time-gated.
Oh no!
Although I'm not a fan of this existing at all, I will say it doesn't feel as bad as it did in Atlan. Although Atlan, you finished the story a lot faster, there was a lot less to do there when you got time-gated. In Blue Protocol, you can go farm dungeons or some world bosses for drops and to fill up your monster hunt book. Go fishing, level your life skills, or go exploring for some chests. For me, I thought there was a good selection of stuff to go do, and I look forward to seeing how they expand these features down the road. Aside from level, your character is dictated by ability score, which is an accumulation of different aspects, including a couple not unlocked in beta as of recording this yet. First are talent trees, which have various nodes that give you stat buffs as well as buffs to your different skills. I wonder how much they will allow you to unlock here come endgame, as before you hit your class spec, you can unlock every node. Personally, I hope they diversify this even more to help give players more customization and class identity. Then we have skills that can be leveled and advanced, both so far just a single stat of the skill, usually damage, and gear, which comes in different rarities, levels, and random substats. These so far can be upgraded in a few various ways and can be embedded with some craftable gems with static stats. This will be the bulk of what you're grinding for in dungeons, and so far I think it's fine. Grinding for correct substats can be annoying, but I've definitely seen worse. These upgrades are unfortunately time-gated as well, which is when it starts to get a bit ridiculous for me. They really try to restrict just how strong players can get immediately, which I can understand, but it is still a little frustrating. There are other progression systems that are a bit minor as well as ones that are currently time-gated, so I'd say keep that in mind for yourself, as I feel like these later systems are usually where they start to get a lot more tedious. Oh, finally, let's get into monetization, which there is quite a lot to dig into here, as they really obfuscated the entire system. First, we have bound premium currency and the regular paid version. You can use both of these to purchase cosmetics, most only purchasable with the paid currency, as well as mounts, which are a bit faster than the free mounts you can earn. There are also some materials you can buy, but these can use the free currency as well. I will say though, for whales, they'll be able to make these daily purchases every day, while free-to-play should typically avoid these if they care about the gachas as well. Which you can buy 3 of these Meowlux wish coins a week, and for free-to-plays this will primarily be the only way to summon on the outfit gacha. Currently we have 2 banners, one to chase an outfit and the other to chase a mount. Both share the same pity of 80 pulls and have a rate of 0.15%. Pities do carry over as well, and other things you can get are less rare outfit items and some pretty garbage items at the lowest rarity, as well as a chance at these Meowlux premium cards. There's a few different currencies in this Meow shop and will be the only way to get some outfits, but back in the gacha, those coins we bought from the shop earlier can only be used to pull on the bound version of the banners, the non-tradable versions. The tradable versions can only be obtained by paying for gems. I think my biggest issue with this system is how little summons you'll actually get. From the shop, that's 12 in a month, but at the same time the game still has to make money, so I'd say it's far from atrocious. What I'd potentially say is less so would be the Battle Wheel gacha. This one doesn't have a menu, you have to go find it in town at the Imagine NPC. Here you can pull for those summon skills that you can farm for as well, but these also have some exclusive gacha ones that you have to pull here. This is where I'd say the game is a bit more pay to win. Same rates and whatnot apply here, but this can be pulled with any type of gems, including the free ones. Also, once a week you can pick which skill you want to pity. So free-to-play players will be able to earn these eventually, but whales will not only be able to guarantee these, but max them out, which will nearly double the stats they give. As someone that's used to gacha games, I think overall this system is pretty fair as far as pay-to-win gachas go. You can earn these over time, and whales need some kind of incentivization to fund the game. This is the path A+ has decided so far, and I think it's far from the most egregious systems that could exist. And from what I've heard, they've actually nerfed the gacha exclusive Imagine since the Chinese release, so they seem receptive to feedback. And there's also a season pass, which currently lasts about 3 months. There's a paid track for $10 US, some pretty classic battle pass stuff here. I can finally go over the player shop, which is the primarily player dictated market. I say mostly as items have a minimum and maximum listing price, as well as being pretty limited in what can all be sold. A big question I'm sure people will have is, can you trade gear? Which the answer is no, but materials can all be gotten here. Gold is also separated by your bound gold, which you'll use for upgrades and whatnot, then unbound gold, which is used to purchase in the player shop. In addition to the player shop, there's also a consignment system which allows whales and spending players to sell paid gems for unbound gold. Meanwhile, you can purchase these gems, which will now become bound gems, with your unbound gold. If you're not familiar with bound items and whatnot in MMOs, this might be confusing. Just know that it favors paying players and is basically made sure that free players are still going to be locked out of paid features. The player shop itself will probably be super pay to win in my opinion, but I don't want to make any definite statements until the release is here and we can actually see how the market all plays out. I have a strong feeling it'll pretty much be whales buying up all of the rarest items though. And I think that's all of the monetization, or at least most of it. There's a monthly card as well with pretty standard gacha fare, but these will also come with a monthly limited outfit item and some potentially important bonuses like storage space and player shop benefits. Overall, I think the monetization will be pretty divisive, but I think they could have gotten so much worse with these systems, like making a tradable version of the Imagine Gacha, which I might have forgotten, but from what I can tell, you can't actually sell those from the gacha. I'd like to hear what you have to think about the monetization though. Is it just pay to win trash, or is it a bit more nuanced than that? Now to wrap up, apart from the negativity of the monetization, overall my time with Blue Protocol has been pretty fun and positive. It's got a beautiful world to play in and go explore. Movement upgrades as you progress make exploration a lot more fun despite currently being pretty barren. A lot of classes to freely choose and swap between for launch, which is pretty nice. And really the group content shines a lot for me, with it feeling a lot more social than other MMO entries, especially the world bosses. Really, I think the biggest things holding it back would first be the lack of combat customization and identity, as there are realistically only 3 skills to swap around and most of your talent tree is pretty simple. The time-gated story, I just think no matter what the positives are, will always be frustrating for players. Overly confusing shops, currencies, and menus, which I feel like I'm still learning how to find things a week in that are really just a couple clicks away. And last bigger con for me right now are some events feel really samey or just really shallow, like the AFK leisure events. These last 2 don't bother me as much, but I know people feel very strongly on these, which would be the auto battle and auto travel systems, and then all of the monetization in general. Most likely the gachas in particular. But even if some of these cons might rub you the wrong way, I'd still highly recommend people check out Blue Protocol's release come October. This is the first really solid anime MMO experience I think players have had in quite a long time, and I'm eagerly looking forward to what is hopefully their bright future. If you made it this far, thank you for watching. If you want to see more of my primarily gacha-related review content, do subscribe and let me know any other games you'd like to see covered. Until next time, take care, and I'll see you.